This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, it's all about the electricity. It's trying to get light to a light bulb. Is it gonna be AC current? Is it gonna be DC current? It's gonna be the war of the currents. Today, we're taking a look at Tesla Vs Edison Duel. This is not an expansion to the original game. This is a standalone two-player game that takes 15 to 30 minutes to play. This is from Artana Games. So let's check it out. I'm gonna show you how you play it, and I'll see you on the other side. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to select an inventor. One will be from the AC side and one will be from the DC side. You don't have to select Tesla and Edison. There's many other inventors that you can actually select. Now, each of these will have a specific win condition that we'll sort of go over it a little bit later. So here's three other inventors from the DC side that you could possibly select. And here's three more from the AC side that you could select. One player will always be on the AC side, one player will always be on the DC side. Now in this game, we are playing Tesla and Edison, and each player will get 5 stock of their type to start the game. So Edison gets 5 of his, and Tesla will get 5 of his as well. Now most of the game revolves around these assistants, which you'll be using actions on there. You'll get 3 of these each of the 3 rounds, and you'll be playing these cards back and forth, you and your opponent, and taking the specific actions that are on here. After you've played the game once, you're able to draft these, which gives you more strategy of picking out which ones you want, passing the ones you don't to the opponent, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go over all of the actions. If I played this assistant, I'd get to take 2 of the same actions. Both of these are called the Electrify City action. Now here are the 3 cities that are up now. You'll notice they have different colors because they're in different regions. They all have the same point value, 2 points. So for that Electrify City, I can take one of these and place it in that region's color. Or if I don't like anything, I can swipe all these, put 3 new ones out, but that is the full action, one or the other there. So let's say I took Niagara, I'd place it here, and it goes in this region because it's orange and because it's in the New York region. And then of course that would fill back up because I got 2 electrify actions with that assistant and I could get another one. So let's say I had taken Cambridge. Now functionally in the game this would have been discarded, the other player would have played one of their assistants and done their actions, and then it would be me. So each of us are taking 3 turns doing the actions on these, and that would be the end of the round. So I'm now just going to go over what the other actions do, not necessarily in these order. The acquire stock action allows you to take some of these stocks or one of these stocks and place it down where it belongs. For example, if you took one of these, they'd all have to go in the out west region. These would have to go in New England. That one would have to go in New York. However, you must leave the technology for that stock in order to take it. And at the beginning of the game, one player is going to have 2 of these, the other one's going to have the third one through an interesting drafting method. But over the course of the game, these can get stolen and such. So in this case, I could take a stock that had one of those 2 technology symbols on it. By the way, if you want it to be more aesthetically pleasing, you can flip them over and they have nice pictures on them like this. Or if you want to be able to just glimpse at the side of the side of the board really quickly and see who has what, you can leave them like that. So in this case, since I did not have that technology, I could not take New York. So maybe I take this one instead because I did have the light bulb. So I could have basically taken all of them except these 2 because those 2 had the technology that I was not the leader in. So let's say I just take this or maybe this one and I put it into New England. There we go right there. So now, over the course of time, if I'm able to add more of this same exact stock, if I have 1 of them, it's worth 1 point. But if I have 5 of these stocks, and there's only 5 of them in the game, I can maximize this as 9 points of influence in this New England region. To take the advanced technology, I can take a technology from somebody else and place it right in front of me. So now I could have all 3, but they could certainly play that next turn and take one of these back. Maybe they wanted to take that one back and leave me with that one. If this assistant was played, you could do the Monopolize Power. So let's say my opponent played that. They no longer wanted me to be able to play in this region because I've got quite a lead, and I'm the DC player. They would take one of these and place it here, which means I can no longer electrify any cities in this region until I play one of those Monopolize actions, and if I want to, I can just simply flip it so now that the AC player couldn't play that. So when you play that action, you're either flipping one of these or you're placing one that doesn't yet exist. Now, the last action that we've talked about is propaganda. For every one of these, you go forward one. Now, this starts off in a very interestingly balanced way that has to do with how many technologies you start with at the beginning of the game. Go ahead and read the rules for that, but it's a really cool balancing mechanism. But if I go one on here, I go one up on the PR track. If I ever reach one of these, which is every 3 spots, I get to do one thing. I either get a free action of any type or go up 2 more in this PR track. This is important because this is used for tiebreakers at the end of the game, and it's used for some of the win conditions of each of the inventors. Now, very important, at the end of each of your 3 turns, each round, you can do what's called a portfolio action, which is you can place one of your 5 shares that you started the game with, regardless if you really could do that or not, because if there was a, for example, I don't need to have this technology, I can just place this and I can continue doing that. Now this has to go in a certain region, of course, but you can place one of those. Or instead of doing that, you can sell back one of the shares that you've already done to take a free action. So if I was clearly leading this or clearly losing this and I didn't really care too much, I could sell back any of these other stocks and I could even sell back the ones that I had already put here that were from my original ones. You could sell back any stock and get to basically get a free action. If you sell one of the minor stocks, it's not your own. It goes back into the pot that other people can still get. But if you sell your own, it comes out of the game. Now, after each player has taken 3 actions, we're going to look to see if a personal goal is met and the game might end immediately. For example, if Thomas Edison has 10 or more points ahead in New York and be leading on that PR track by 6, he'd win immediately. Where if Tesla could control more cities than your opponent in each region and control all 3 of these technologies, he'd win. So everyone knows what the other player's goal is. These are face up, these are known knowledge, and it's a big tug of war trying to get to that immediate win condition. However, if neither of them have won at the end of the round, then you go into scoring for that round. So we'd start with New England. Tesla has 2, and Edison has 2 plus 1 because they have one of these stocks. So this player has won the majority. If it was tied, you go to that PR track. Now, the winner of this gets to do an action. They get 3 propaganda actions. So he could go 1, 2, 3. Because he reached here, he could take another free action or go 2 more in the propaganda, remembering that this helps win ties. Maybe they take another free action that could actually help him win this round. So maybe he takes the electrify action and takes this Toledo card. This would be still full with all 3 at this point. So winning that allowed them to sort of sneak attack here into the out west. Now, the player who did not win this gets a consolation prize. They can either take a Monopolize action, which again is either flipping one of these or placing one that doesn't exist, or taking an advanced technology, which is essentially taking one of these from the other player. Then we go to the next one. This is 4. This one only has 3. So this player would have won. They would get a take stock action. And at the end of the round here, you're not playing with the same rules. For example, if you normally could not have placed one of these here because you didn't have the technology for this, you actually can in the end of the round. They sort of break some of the rules for the end round scoring. Again, whoever didn't win would be able to do a Monopolize or a advanced technology action. Then we'd go to the west, where here this player is winning, so they would be able to electrify a city. After that, you go to a second round, doing the same thing, drafting assistants, playing them, and then going to end round scoring. Again, once the actions are over, you check to see if those immediate win conditions are done. If you get all the way to the end of the 3rd round, and there's no one has won, you don't go through each of these scoring and do these actions again. At that point, you just look and see which side is controlling the majority of the regions, and that person would win. If it's tied, it goes to the PR tracker. All right, there's Tesla versus Edison Duel. Now, the original game I was super into because I loved the theme, I love stock market mechanisms, but in the end, it didn't end up coming out too much because it's a longer game, and a lot of the rules were a little bit hard to quite understand at first, the first playthrough. It was just one of those harder ones to get to the table, even though I liked it. This one, wow, what a difference. Uses that same historical theme that I really love in games. Not only that, but sort of the look and feel of this. It looks very similar, again, to the original game with the way the box looks, the icons, and the inventors. They obviously used a lot of the same artwork, but that's okay. I think it looks awesome. Artana always does a great job of making their games look and feel really aesthetically pleasing, and they did the same thing with this. And I love how clean this whole game looks, from icons to art to box to everything. They did a great job in the production side of things for this. I love how this game has 8 different inventors. It's not just Tesla versus Edison. There's 8. There's 4 AC and 4 DC. one player is going to pick the AC person or the DC, and the other player has to pick someone from the other one based upon who the other player picked. And it's interesting because some of these inventors, even like Tesla versus Edison, for example, they both have their stock market shares, their original shares for New York. So there's only one other place on the board that you're gonna be able to get shares from New York, and one of those win conditions are you've got to be able to beat someone by a certain amount of New York, so that causes a lot of tension over there. And a lot of these inventors have sort of overlaps as to what their abilities are, what their end game goals are. It just makes it super interesting, and I love that there's multiples of these to make the game feel different every time you play it. I like the drafting mechanism of getting the different assistants. Now, when you first play the first game, don't play drafting. You won't really know exactly what you're going for. But once you have played it and you start drafting it, wow, the strategies, I mean, this isn't a super deep strategy game. This is more of a tactical card game. But drafting adds another layer of strategy that I really did enjoy quite a bit. This game has a great arc. I mean, you got this, you know what your end game win condition is. You know what your opponents are. You're kind of watching what they're doing. You're watching who they're drafting. You're trying to not let them get the people that's going to allow them to further their agenda for their win condition. And you're working on yours. And, you know, about the second round, midway through, maybe even the end of the first round, you're really paying attention to this and you're trying to stop them, but at the same time, win your own. And how far can you go, which way? I mean, you can only do so much on your turn. It's a really cool balance. And sometimes I've been able to win with the end game condition. It's really cool and very fulfilling. But at some point, you know, you might realize, you know what, this just is not going to happen. And then you sort of turn the tide. You're like, okay, let me just go for majorities of 2 out of 3 and try to win this thing. If the other players started doing that a little bit quicker than you, realized they weren't going to get their goal and started working on that, they might be a little bit step ahead of you. So I love how the game has this different arc. And I've really loved, you know, recently these 2-player games coming out like Seven Wonders Duel, where it has these immediate win conditions. Now, these aren't super like immediate, like I've played this, I win the game. It's at the end of the round, but it's still quite immediate. So I like how they have the short-term and the long-term game here. I really love that aspect of it. The game feels super balanced. This is a tug of war that's often going to come down to the last card played. And I love how they balance the cities with the stocks and the stocks with the technology, and they're all tied together. Hey, you want to get this city? Well, you know what? Someone threw a Monopolize AC/DC thing on there and you can't go there for now. You're going to have to take that action to reflip it so you can go there and electrify a city and put it there. Maybe you can get some stock, but the stock that's left that goes there, you don't have the technology for. So all these things that you're trying to do are all intertwined with each other beautifully. It's a very simple, easy game, but man, is there a lot of thinking. It can be brain burnery at times, and I love that because it has pretty simple mechanisms, but there's a lot of depth here and a lot of replayability. The scoring is very tight. I found this game really going down to the wire more often than not. I love this game. Anything negative I can say? They had a player aid, which was great. I just wish they would have had one additional player aid for the end of round scoring, because, you know, it's fine after you've played the game 2 or 3 times, but, and you know, your first 1 or 2 times when you're doing the end round scoring and you're getting each player their ability for winning that region, you easily forget that the other player gets one of these 2 other actions, and you forget to give it to them, you forget which ones they are. I really wish they would have just had a end round and an end game scoring, 1 little player aid, double-sided. My only con, really. This game's fantastic, and I love 2-player games that are quick, have a lot of depth, have a lot of replayability. This does that. This is one of the better 2-player games I've played in a long time. I would say after Seven Wonders Duel, this is my favorite 2-player game that I've come out since in the last couple of years. It's fantastic. And so that is Tesla versus Edison Duel, and it's going to get a saxophone serenade because of all this. So let's hit it.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.